Cardians have come a long way since their almost pure luck-based large combo string anime origins. When I did a Cardian deck build back in December, they had potential, but were missing a few important pieces in the TCG until they could become a competitive threat. Now, not even at full power yet, they are a legitimate competitive deck capable of taking down even the Tier 1 big dogs. So what does my updated Cardian deck look like? First, looking at the monsters, I run 2 or 3 copies of each of the 100 attackers to ensure proper efficiency with flower gathering, in addition to ensuring a sufficient number of Cardian monsters in the deck for combo playmaking. Each of the 100 attackers has their own individual strengths. Paulownia has the most versatile summoning condition, being able to special summon itself at no cost if any lesser Cardian is on the field, typically making it great tribute fodder for the more important Cardians. And if Lightshower is on the field, it can be a pain in the butt to get rid of because of its innate battle protection. But since these elements are only passive extenders, I only run 2 copies. Willow is an incredibly important combo extender, netting that important guaranteed draw, for there is no must-be-a-Cardian monster condition on keeping the card. It also has the important effect of recycling the 100 attackers to ensure flower gathering ever dead, and synchro monsters when desired, making it a mandatory 3-copy card. Zebragrass is the least valuable of the bunch, but its hand swap effect does have its moments, especially when fishing for spells to attempt to extend combos while swapping currently non-useful Cardians like Deer when the opponent does not have spells or traps on the field. Finally, for the most important 100 attacker, Pine, which is the only Cardian that can be normal summoned without tribute, and has the capacity to initiate your combo string, being a Cardian monster on the field, as well as getting you that first initial draw. Also, some people might forget that Pine does net a draw when it's destroyed by the opponent and sent to the graveyard, making it difficult for the opponent to justify using an interrupter on it. Like Willow, Pine is a mandatory 3-copy card. With regards to the so-called evolved Cardians, I run 2 copies of Willow with Calligrapher only because it's a tuner, and 1 copy of Pine with Crane because of its draw after battle effect. Also, the 2000 attack of both of these cards is definitely nice at helping speed OTKs. The other 2 evolved Cardians are not even close to worth it. They typically just clog up your hand more than anything. I run 3 copies of each of the, what I view as the second generation Cardians, Maple with Deer, Peony with Butterfly, and Clover with Bear. Deer removes back row in a non-targeting fashion, Bear removes monsters in a non-targeting fashion, and Peony is a tuner that can really screw up your opponent's next few draws by restacking his or her deck, heavily increasing the probability of victory for the Cardian player, and allowing you to sit on a Lightshower and not really miss skipping your draw phase to get Lightshower's burn effect. I think Peony is one of those cards that non-Cardian players don't even know anything about, with how valuable that stacking effect is, and there are a number of Cardian players that tend to forget about its importance because of this almost hype factor of, oh, let me show you this replay where this Cardian deck goes 27 cards deep, oh, wasn't that amazing? Most of the time, you're not going to go 27 cards deep, and Peony is going to be that card that saves your butt by screwing up your opponent's ability to make plays against you, and you can just sit on that Lightshower and burn them to death. Rounding out the Cardian monsters, the newcomer from Raging Tempest, I run 3 copies of Cherry Blossom, for it is another initial combo starter, i.e. a Cardian monster that can be put on the field without another Cardian already being on the field, although it is not guaranteed, but highly probable. Also, Blossom is a 2000 attacker when on the field, and can jump another Cardian by 1000 attack in a Kalute-like fashion, significantly increasing OTK probability in both regards. It is hard to see a time in the future when Blossom is not a 3-copy card, regardless of what type of future Cardian support ever comes out. Now, I guess it's time for the quote-unquote blasphemy portion of the deck build. There are some interesting non-Cardian tech choices, starting with Fairy Tale Snow can be run to provide some form of defense, decent attack, help get over an opponent's field due to its Book of Moon effect, and or be tribute fodder for Super Koikoi's effect. When the deck draws decently, Fairy Tale Snow's graveyard effect can be activated multiple times during a duel. Electromagnetic Turtle can be run for defensive purposes as an 1800 defense wall and eliminate a battle phase for the opponent. Level Eater can extend synchro plays because all monsters can be taken as level 2 in Cardian tuner-based synchro summoning, including Level Eater, so its summons is almost free relative to synchro summoning, because there are obviously numerous level 5 or higher monsters in this deck. Also, Level Eater can make XZ plays easier by dropping the level of one Cardian to match the level of another Cardian. This reduction effect is most helpful for making rank 7 and rank 10 plays. However, Level Eater does have the problem of being a delayed benefit, and one that can be difficult at times to take advantage of due to the first generation Cardians having only Cardian summon limitations on their special summons. Basically, 90-something% of the time, a Level Eater summon will come on the back of a second generation Cardian, or a turn later off of a synchro. Obviously, the Calculator is an interesting non-Cardian tech choice because it's going to have a huge attack power most of the time with all of those high-level Cardians on the field with it. Finally, Absolute King Backjack has real value in its graveyard effect as a combo extender. In some respects, Backjack could compete with Card Advance for a spot, but I would prefer Backjack because a vast majority of deck thinning in this deck comes from Cardian-based effect draws. If Backjack is drawn, you dump it to the graveyard, activate its 3-card top-of-the-deck organization effect, whereas if Card Advance is drawn, you get nothing. Card Advance is typically really only good if drawn in the opening hand, and even then, it's not that great. I feel the best choices for consistency and power are one copy of Snow and one copy of Backjack. Overall, in my opinion, Level Eater is typically just a little too much of a win more card. For the direct Cardian support spells, I run 3 copies of Stacking for obvious reasons, for with Recardination and Blossom now as additional combo starters, the one liability of running 3 copies of Stacking, the need for a combo starter, has basically been eliminated. 2 copies of Gathering, for while it is fantastic in the opening hand, it significantly drops in usefulness every draw after. It has no graveyard effect, so if it's dumped by the Cardian effect, you get nothing. And you do need to have the ability to make some level of plays afterwards, because there are times when you can activate it, then look at your hand and say, well, I don't really have a follow-up play. So 3 copies tends to get a little bricky in my tastes and experience. Now it is time to defend a card that a number of other Cardian players seem to be abandoning, Super Koi Koi. I have no idea why people are dropping this card, for the most important thing in a Cardian deck is getting that first Cardian on the field to set up most of the other Cardians, and Super Koi Koi does that almost all of the time without using the normal summons. The potential life point damage is basically irrelevant. The level change and effect negation is of minimal consequence, for most of the time the monsters summoned off of Super are going to be tributed for other Cardian summons, especially any summoned tuners, used as synchro material because the level 2 standing is what the Cardian tuners would have done anyways, or these monsters are going to participate in battle. However, even if you summon the 100 attackers or the tuners and have no means to immediately tribute them, if that's the case, you really must have drawn poorly. If you get a tuner and a non-tuner, you can make a Herald of the Arclight, and if you get multiple non-tuners, you can make a Sky Cavalry, because Super does not have a Cardian summons only condition to its effect. Yes, it is annoying when Super is drawn off a Cardian effect and discarded to the graveyard, but those are the breaks with this deck. Most people are sour on Super's graveyard effect, and that is understandable, but it has its moments. Largely when you would like to summon a Pine with Crane or Willow with Calligrapher, because you can ignore their summoning conditions, and trigger their draw effects. The tribute effect is also meaningful when combined with either Snow or Backjack for this particular build. 2 copies. 3 copies of Recardination is highly recommended. The nature of its effect is ridiculously useful, rewarding high-quality Cardian players, for it does not directly summon a Cardian from the graveyard, but instead adds a graveyard Cardian to your hand, and then lets you summon any Cardian in the hand to the field, ignoring summoning conditions. Incredible versatility. The Curry Bandit Light graveyard effect is also significantly useful, almost guaranteeing a big combo continuation if you have any other draw elements to trigger, both due to the monster stacking and the possible additional spell card that you will get to add to your hand. The fact that this card is not even once per turn is also somewhat nuts. Overall, if Cardians start being a force in the meta, which in all seriousness they should be, especially after Tsuki Hanayami is released. This card will probably be the first card limited. This is where you cue the sad face emoji. For the remaining spells, I no longer run Allure of Darkness, because there are enough combo starters with the new support from Raging. Remember, that's the principal reason why I felt Allure of Darkness was so important. You needed to get to your combo starters, and giving up one Cardian from hand to do that, that was okay. However, Allure is still a nice card in this deck for those still interested in running it. I still run one copy of 1-for-1 for getting Pine on the field, and you can also use it to prime the graveyard for Recardination, or even a Backjack if I have means to utilize it effectively, and one copy of Reinforcement of the Army to get Pine, Pine with Crane, or Blossom in the hand to help combo playmaking. Finally, I run one copy of Soul Charge. Soul Charge in this deck is basically your break glass in case of emergency card. Most of the time, you will not need it, or really will not be interested in activating it, because Cardians want their battle phase. That's where they do a brunt of their damage, despite Lightshower's effect. However, there are those times when the opponent just has all of the answers, and Soul Charge can help swing the game back in your favor by putting a couple of important Cardians back on the field for additional draws, to net the second generation Cardian effect, or simply reviving previously vanquished Synchro monsters. For the extra deck, I run 2 copies of Flower Cardian Lightflare, 2 copies of Flower Cardian Lightshower. I almost never need the third copy, 1 copy of Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, 1 copy of Crimson Blader, 2 copies of Flower Cardian Boardefly, 1 copy of Armory Arm, 1 copy of Herald of the Arclight, 1 copy of number 81 Superdreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dora, 1 copy Superdreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, 1 copy Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, 1 copy Sky Cavalry Churia, and 1 copy of Gachi Gachi. Overall, Cardians are definitely a deck that is built more on luck than other decks, but smart deck design and an experienced player can heavily mitigate that influence of luck. Deck design is rather important because, realistically, the way Cardians play, at least 30 of the 40 cards in the deck will be identical through all builds. The small differences between builds speaks volumes in whether or not they succeed in the current meta, and these differences are managed through experience and practice. In case I'm being too subtle here, this deck can be a dangerous rogue deck that will top, but only for those players that practice, and practice some more to get the right build and to identify what to do in what given situation. The funny thing about Cardians, though, is they're not even at full power yet, for they don't even have Tsuki Hanayami. When she is released, the consistency and power of this deck increases further, including opening options like Cosmic Blazer Dragon, if so desired. Well, that is my updated Cardian deck. Thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.